The digital clock on the bedside table glared at me. 3:17 a.m. I hadn't slept a wink. My mind was a relentless carousel of images, suspicions, and gut-wrenching possibilities. It all started subtly, a shift in Braunt's behavior that I initially dismissed as stress from her demanding job as a marketing executive. But the late nights at the office became more frequent, the phone calls whispered in hushed tones in the hallway, the subtle perfume that wasn't hers clinging to her clothes. It all added up to annoying unease that I couldn't ignore. I'm Quincy, a 46-year-old IT specialist, and until a few weeks ago, I thought I had the perfect life. Braunt and I had been married for 18 years. We lived in a comfortable suburban house in Denver, Colorado, with our two teenage children, Alara and Jasper. We had built a life together, a life filled with love, laughter, and shared dreams, or so I thought. The first red flag was the girls' trip. Braunt announced it with a casualness that seemed forced. "The girls and I are going to Napa for a long weekend," she said one evening, barely looking up from her laptop. "We all need a break." I didn't think much of it at the time. Braunt had gone on similar trips before, a chance to unwind with her friends, far away from the bustle of Denver. But this time felt different. She was unusually secretive about the details, vague about the itinerary, and strangely insistent that I didn't need to know anything more. My suspicions grew with each passing day leading up to the trip. I found myself constantly checking her phone, a habit I despised but couldn't resist. I knew it was wrong, an invasion of her privacy, but the fear of what I might find was overwhelming. Of course, I found nothing. Braunt was too careful, too skilled at covering her tracks, or so I thought. She left early on Friday morning, a whirlwind of hurried goodbyes and a forced smile. I watched her drive away, a knot of anxiety tightening in my stomach. The house felt eerily empty without her. Alara and Jasper were at school, leaving me alone with my thoughts. I tried to distract myself with work, but my mind kept drifting back to Braunt, to Napa, to the nagging feeling that something was terribly wrong. That evening I decided to do something I knew I would regret. I went into our bedroom and started searching. I rifled through her drawers, her closet, her handbag, anything that might offer a clue. I found nothing, nothing except a crumpled hotel bill tucked away in the pocket of her suitcase. The bill was from a boutique hotel in Carmel by the Sea, a coastal town south of Napa. The dates matched the dates of her girls' trip. But the name on the bill wasn't Braunt's. It was a man's name, Lysander Hayes. My blood ran cold. Lysander Hayes. Who was he? A colleague, an old friend, or something more? I grabbed my phone and Googled the name. The first result was a LinkedIn profile. Lysander Hayes, senior vice president at a rival marketing firm. Handsome, successful, and judging by the photos, entirely too charming. I clicked through the images, my heart pounding in my chest. There he was, smiling confidently, posing with colleagues, attending industry events. And then I saw it. A photo of him standing next to Braunt at a marketing conference last year. They were laughing, their faces close together, their body language intimate. It was like a punch to the gut. I felt sick, betrayed, and utterly devastated. I spent the rest of the night pacing the house, replaying every moment of our marriage in my mind, searching for clues I had missed, signs I had ignored. The more I thought about it, the more I realized that there had been signs, subtle shifts in her behavior that I had dismissed as stress or fatigue. The late nights at the office, the whispered phone calls, the new perfume, it all made sense now. Braunt returned on Sunday evening, her face flushed, her eyes bright. She greeted me with a hug and a kiss, her usual warmth seemingly genuine. "How was your trip?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "It was great," she said, smiling. "We had so much fun. We went wine tasting, we went shopping, we relaxed by the pool." "Did you meet anyone interesting?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Her eyes flickered for a moment, a brief flash of guilt that she quickly masked. "No," she said too quickly, "just the girls." I wanted to scream, to confront her with the hotel bill, with Lysander Hayes's photo, with the overwhelming evidence of her betrayal. But I couldn't. I was too shocked, too hurt, too afraid of what she might say. So I swallowed my anger and played along, pretending that everything was normal. The next few weeks were a living hell. I went through the motions of daily life, but inside I was crumbling. I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat, I couldn't concentrate on anything. I was consumed by anger, sadness, and a deep sense of betrayal. I knew I had to confront Bront, but I didn't know how. I was afraid of losing her, of losing my family, of losing everything I had worked so hard to build. But I also knew that I couldn't continue living a lie. I confided in my best friend, Barnaby, a divorced father of two who had been through his own share of relationship drama. He listened patiently as I poured out my heart, my voice cracking with emotion. "You have to confront her, Quincy," he said firmly. "You can't let her get away with this. You deserve to know the truth." He was right. I did deserve to know the truth. I decided to wait for the right moment, a moment when we were alone and uninterrupted. It came on a Saturday morning. Alara and Jasper were at a friend's house, leaving Bront and me alone in the house. I found her in the kitchen making coffee. "Bront, can we talk?" I asked, my voice trembling slightly. She turned to me, a look of apprehension on her face. "Of course," she said, her voice guarded. We sat down at the kitchen table, the silence hanging heavy in the air. I took a deep breath and pulled the hotel bill from my pocket. "What's this?" I asked, pushing it across the table. She picked it up, her eyes widening as she recognized it. Her face paled and she stammered, I can explain." "Explain what, Bront?" I said, my voice rising. "Explain why you were in Carmel with a man who isn't your husband. Explain why you lied to me. Explain why you betrayed me." She started to cry, tears streaming down her face. "It was a mistake," she sobbed. "It didn't mean anything. It was just a moment of weakness." "A moment of weakness," I repeated, incredulous. "You spent an entire weekend with him, Bront. That's not a moment of weakness. That's a deliberate act of betrayal." I know," she cried. "I'm so sorry. I never meant to hurt you. I love you, Quincy. Please believe me." I wanted to believe her. I wanted to believe that it was just a mistake, that she still loved me, that we could work through this. But I couldn't. The trust was gone, shattered into a million pieces. I couldn't forgive her, not yet, maybe not ever. "Who is he, Bront?" I asked, my voice cold and hard. "Who is Lysander Hayes?" She hesitated for a moment, then confessed. He's a colleague. We met at a conference last year. We just connected. It was a mistake, Quincy, I swear." "A mistake that you repeated in Carmel," I said, my voice dripping with sarcasm. She didn't respond, her head bowed in shame. I stood up from the table, my legs shaking. "I need some time," I said. "I need to think about what happens next." I walked out of the kitchen, leaving her sobbing at the table. I spent the rest of the day wandering aimlessly, trying to make sense of what had happened. I drove to the mountains, seeking solace in the beauty of nature. I hiked for hours, my mind racing, my heart aching. As the sun began to set, I sat down on a rock overlooking the city, the lights twinkling below. I knew I couldn't stay in the marriage. The betrayal was too deep, the wound too raw. I couldn't forgive Bront, not after what she had done. I returned home late that night, my mind made up. Bront was waiting for me, her eyes red and swollen. "What are you going to do?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm leaving," I said, my voice firm. "I can't stay here, not after what you've done." She started to cry again, begging me to stay, promising to change, promising to never see Lysander again. But I was unmoved. The trust was gone, and without trust there was nothing left. I packed a bag filled with clothes and toiletries. I didn't say goodbye to Alara and Jasper. I couldn't face them, not yet. I left a note on the kitchen table explaining what had happened and promising to talk to them soon. As I walked out the door, Bront ran after me, grabbing my arm. "Please don't go," she begged. "I'll do anything, just give me another chance." I looked at her, my eyes filled with sadness. "It's too late, Bront," I said. "You had your chance and you blew it." I pulled away from her and walked to my car. I drove away, leaving behind my marriage, my family, and the life I had known for so long. I moved into a small apartment downtown, a temporary space while I figured out my next steps. The first few weeks were incredibly difficult. I was lonely, depressed, and consumed by anger. I missed my children terribly, but I knew I couldn't see them until I had processed my emotions and figured out how to explain everything to them. I started therapy, seeking professional help to cope with the trauma of Bront's betrayal. My therapist, a compassionate woman named Zofia, helped me to understand my feelings and to develop healthy coping mechanisms. She encouraged me to focus on myself, to rediscover my passions, and to rebuild my life. I started painting again, something I hadn't done in years. I joined a hiking group, exploring the trails around Denver and meeting new people. I reconnected with old friends, spending evenings playing poker and catching up on each other's lives. Slowly but surely, I started to heal. I realized that I was stronger than I thought, more resilient than I imagined. I could survive this, I could rebuild my life, and I could find happiness again. One evening, a few months after I moved out, I received a phone call from Bront. I hesitated before answering, my heart pounding in my chest. "Quincy, it's me," she said, her voice trembling. "I need to talk to you." "What do you want, Bront?" I asked, my voice cold. "It's about Lysander," she said. He left me." My heart skipped a beat. Karma, it seemed, had finally caught up with her. "What do you mean he left you?" I asked, trying to keep the satisfaction out of my voice. "He said he was never serious about me," she sobbed. "He said it was just a fling, a bit of fun. He said he never loved me." I felt a pang of sympathy for her, but it was quickly overshadowed by anger. She had destroyed our marriage for a man who didn't even care about her. "I'm sorry to hear that, Bront," I said, my voice devoid of emotion. "But it's not my problem anymore." "Please, Quincy," she begged. "I made a mistake. I regret everything. Can we please try again? I miss you, I miss the kids, I miss our life together." I hesitated for a moment, tempted to give her another chance. But then I remembered the hotel bill, the lies, the betrayal. I couldn't do it. I couldn't go back to a relationship built on deceit. "It's too late, Bront," I said. "I've moved on, I'm happy now, I can't go back." I hung up the phone, my hand trembling. I knew I had made the right decision, but it still hurt. I had loved Bront deeply, and the pain of her betrayal would always be with me. But I also knew that I deserved better, that I deserved a relationship built on trust, honesty, and mutual respect. A few weeks later, I received a letter from Bront's lawyer. She was filing for divorce. I wasn't surprised. I signed the papers without hesitation and sent them back. The divorce was finalized a few months later. It was a painful process, but it was also liberating. I was finally free, free to move on with my life, free to find someone who would love me and respect me. I started dating again, cautiously at first, but eventually with more confidence. I met some wonderful women, but none of them felt quite right. I realized that I wasn't ready for another serious relationship. I needed more time to heal, more time to focus on myself, more time to figure out what I wanted from life. One day, while volunteering at a local animal shelter, I met a woman named Wren. She was kind, compassionate, and had a wonderful sense of humor. We bonded over our love of animals and our shared desire to make a difference in the world. We started spending time together, going for hikes, attending concerts, and volunteering at the shelter. Slowly but surely, I started to fall in love with her. Wren was everything Bront wasn't: honest, trustworthy, and completely devoted to me. She loved me for who I was, flaws and all. She didn't try to change me, she didn't judge me, she simply accepted me. After a year of dating, I knew that Wren was the one. I proposed to her on a mountaintop overlooking Denver, the city lights twinkling below. She said yes, tears streaming down her face. We were married a few months later in a small ceremony surrounded by our closest friends and family. Alara and Jasper were there, of course, and they were thrilled to see me happy again. Looking back on everything that happened with Bront, I realized that her betrayal, as devastating as it was, ultimately made me a stronger and better person. It taught me the importance of self-respect, the value of honesty, and the power of forgiveness. I forgave Bront, not for her sake, but for my own. I realized that holding onto anger and resentment would only poison my soul. I let go of the past and embraced the future, a future filled with love, happiness, and the promise of a new beginning. I found love again, a love that was deeper, more meaningful, and more fulfilling than anything I had ever experienced with Bront. I learned that even after the darkest of storms, the sun will eventually shine again. And I am grateful for the journey, for the pain, and for the lessons I learned along the way. Because it all led me to Wren, to my new life, to my happily ever after. This story is about the devastating impact of infidelity and betrayal, but it's also about resilience, healing, and the possibility of finding love again after heartbreak. Quincy's journey is a testament to the strength of the human spirit and the power of forgiveness. He faced unimaginable pain, but he emerged from the darkness stronger, wiser, and more determined to live a happy and fulfilling life. His story is a reminder that even when life throws us the most difficult challenges, we can overcome them and find our way to a brighter future. It's a reminder that love can be found again, even after the most painful betrayals, and that happiness is always within reach if we are willing to let go of the past and embrace the possibilities of the future. Remember, dear reader, even in the face of profound betrayal, your strength and resilience will guide you toward healing and a brighter tomorrow. Never lose hope, and always believe in your capacity for love and happiness.